The Arctic, the top of the world. 3 months of warm weather, 9 months of freezing cold, and that's just the way the Inuit like it. When winter comes and the sea turns to ice, their territory becomes twice as large. The horizon seems limitless. The Inuit have been living on this land for thousands of years. At the turn of the 20th century, barely 5,000 Inuit lived in the Canadian Arctic. Today, there are more than 45,000. Mika Mike is one of only a few female guides in Nunavut, the autonomous territory of the Inuit. For the past week, the dogs have been sick. Mika depends on them to earn her living. Their strength sapped by a virus, they are unable to run or draw the sled. They need fresh meat to get stronger again. Mika must get 110 seals every year to feed them. Most people living in the Great North practice subsistence hunting and fishing. Mika had no trouble getting some friends together to go on the trip. Mika hunts with a partner, Joshua Kango. Like Joshua, Pauluzi was born in an igloo. He and Mishima round out the team. To them, hunting and fishing are as much a source of pleasure as they are a necessity.
Look, a seal just came out.
Hunting, fishing, waiting, always waiting for the animal that will feed them. Always in their minds, the memory of famines of old.
Over there, a seal.
It has only been a short time since the introduction of Western values disrupted the flow of tradition. Recently, a new source of turmoil has emerged.
Did you see any caribou in the mountain?
The environment has become less predictable.
As soon as it starts to warm up, the ice melts quickly. I was afraid the ice would crack and I would fall into the water.
As a child, Pauluzi lived in this region with his family. He still wears the mittens his father gave him 20 years ago, made from the skin of a polar bear he hunted.
I see some snowmobiles over there.
Far away?
Yes, quite far away.
Hunting is so essential to survival that every good hunter is rewarded with the respect and gratitude of the community. At the heart of the Inuit people's ability to survive is an intimate knowledge of the environment and its wildlife.
Is this where you grew up?
When I was a child, I lived over in that direction. That's where I lived.
The first seal of the day. Mishima must get to the seal before it sinks to the bottom of the water. The Inuits' language, their culture, their art, their technology, all derive from sila. Sila is the Inuit word for temperature or atmosphere. It also means intelligence of the world.
Everything that happens in the world, in the planet, happens here first. That's how it works. We are the health barometer for the rest of the world, the health indicator. And because we're a people who live off the ice and snow, we see the most minute of changes immediately, because we're on the land every day, hunting, fishing, gathering.
Sheila Watt Cloutier is the grandmother of young Lee and president of the Inuit Circumpolar Conference, which works to strengthen ties between the world's 150,000 Inuit.
He's named after his grandfather and then his two great-grandfathers. If the snow and ice are melting right before our eyes and right under our feet, and our hunters are now falling through the ice because it's unpredictable, where what you see on the surface is not necessarily what the ice really looks like through the depth of it. If it's melting from underneath, then all the rules are changing. So how do we deal with that?
Joshua's campsite is accessible by land and water, and often serves as a refuge for lost hunters or those caught by a storm. It has neither key nor lock. Far from the bustle of Iqaluit, the camp is a place that inspires dreams of plenty.
Here you can breathe easy. Every time I come here, I feel a sense of well-being.
Mika has found a stream of fresh water. It's the best water for making tea, pure like the water her father drank before it was affected by pollutants. Mika likes traveling, especially in Italy. But what she wants most is to follow in the footsteps of her ancestors and lead an autonomous life, a life like before the white man came.
Many of us are starting to think deeply about these issues. Why have we come from such a highly independent way of living to now highly dependent, be it to substances, institutions, processes, you know? We have the highest suicide rates in North America. The answers lie, in my opinion, in our culture, our hunt, our food. All of those answers lie in our tradition and our culture, because when our children are traditionally taught on the land, they are taught not only the technical skills of surviving on the land, you are taught character. You are taught to be patient, to be bold under pressure, to be able to handle stress, to be courageous, to be creative. All things required to survive life.
The surface area of the Arctic represents 1/3 of the area of Canada, 2 million square kilometers and 21 kilometers of asphalt. Pangyurtung, or Pang, Mika's native village, is located 1 hour by plane or 1 week by dog sled from Iqaluit. This is where Mika grew up. She knows everyone in this village of 1,200 souls. She has come to visit her father. Mika and her father are passionate about technology, the old kind and the new. These are the tools of survival.
I think they're finished. I can see very well. On the plains, long ago, we used them like sunglasses. They prevented us from going blind from the snow.
Were all glasses made the same way?
I remember that glasses were made out of caribou antlers. They're just fine.
In the photo, we see my dad and my younger brother. When we were young, we would observe our father. That's how I learned. We camped all summer long and we hunted caribou. Now I ask him questions when I need to. As a child, I learned from my mother how to dry out hides. She showed me how to help her make mittens and the linings of boots. She died when I was young. Today, I try to remember how she would have done things.
It doesn't fit very well. How does it work? Like this, maybe. Quite a can opener. Doesn't want to cooperate.
We are a people that are very resilient. We are a people that are very adaptable because we have always adapted to changes in weather and in all of the seasons and so on. I mean, to be able to build homes out of snow, warm enough for your babies to sleep in naked, that's ingenuity. With everything that we have, we've been able to survive for a millennia. But you know, adaptation has its limits too.
It's not a best piece of wood. It's a little long.
Inuit knowledge is passed on by example. Mika likes to say that her father is her favorite book.
Hey, thanks. Thanks, neighbor.
After spending his entire life in Pangyurtung, Jamie C. Mike has forged tight links with the community. Without being asked, a neighbor brings over a little something for supper, some delicious Arctic char. Alienation, loss of cultural identity. For the people of the Great North, these are severe threats. Pangyurtung is a dry village. Alcohol and drugs are prohibited. Despite the ban, the menace is ever present. Lack of work is a constant problem, and suicide claims new victims with depressing regularity. Mika has lost too many friends and family members to not feel concerned.
This is where I grew up. Since my childhood, we've been through a lot of upheaval. We would go to school like whites, but whenever we went home, we were completely Inuit. I know that I felt very confused. We didn't know which was best. Now I realize that the Inuit way of life is very good. Everyone helps each other out. I don't want us to forget who we are and how we survived. But sadly, today we are neglecting our traditions a little too much.
For 4,000 years, Inuit civilization has thrived around Cape Dorset. Its open waters make it possible to fish here all year round. Charged with energy, this volcanic land has witnessed the birth of many shamans and artists. Today, Cape Dorset art is the most valued in the Arctic. Mr. Namunaya Shuna is one of the most revered elders in the region. People call upon him when they want to decipher the codes of ancestral life. He comes from a long line of hunter artists. His unfailing memory makes him a valued guide for the entire community.
There. At the top, that's the flame of the oil lamp, which we call Ikumariatsiak. We, the Inuits, were part of one big family. With our grandparents, there were a lot of us. We took good care of the dogs. We trained the dog teams. Our only tools were our teeth. That's how we helped our father out as men. We would play with the bones, and that's all we had to play with. Bones from seals, walruses, and caribou. The toys were a way to put into practice what we learned from our fathers and girls from their mothers. It wasn't perfect, but I find it was more efficient and healthier. When food and fat was available, we kept warm with the fat in winter, in the sun in summer. That's how it was, and life was good.
one of the best hunters in the region, has invited Namunai Ashuna to go hunting with him. Cov's own father died young, and he likes having an elder at his side on his trips. But it's expensive to leave the village. In the Arctic, gas, the boat, and supplies cost twice as much as in the south. For some, going on a hunt has become an activity they can no longer afford. Mr. Ashuna has not been able to leave the village in 5 years. Also going on the hunt is Cov's son, Toby. The young generation of Inuit needs elders who will pass on the ancestral knowledge.
I'm thrilled. Because of my health, I haven't been able to come in a long time. I'm happy to be here again. We're heading for the place where I grew up.
A seal. The group will eat well tonight.
This lake was full of water. The level was much higher. Now it's almost dry. I don't know why the water level has dropped. I just don't understand it.
This is where Cov raised his family before going to live in town. For many Inuit, living in a house has become a necessary evil. But the camps are where real life happens. The canvas of this tent is new. Cov had to replace it when a polar bear tore it a few weeks ago. It was the third time in 2 years. Only the old door survived the attacks. After a 30-year absence, Mr. Ashuna is back on his old land. In the isolated communities of the Great North, radio acts as a web to join them together. The danger of getting lost weighs constantly on the hunter. Cov is known as someone who never refuses a distress call. He holds the record for the most rescues in the region. The unpredictable climate of recent years has kept him busy.
Nature and the climate are changing. Even the wind has changed directions. Before, we would observe everything around us. Today, we still try to do that. But because the weather is changing, we are concerned for our environment. Things have become unpredictable. We don't really understand. I don't know what's happening to our world, our universe. Here's a beautiful old knife. Very useful for the large, hard part of the walrus. It's also very good for cutting sealskin and caribou. Never without this knife. I've had it for a long time, since around 1930. Before I die, I'm not going to say to someone, "Here, it's for you." Someone will choose it. One of my sons or one of my grandsons.
I hope we'll get there before low tide.
Yeah. 400 kilometers from Cape Dorset, Joshua and Mika are searching for food as the Inuit have always done.
You haven't seen any seals?
No, not even any bearded seals.
The weather's not too good.
They're looking for caribou to feed the dogs, who have not eaten in 2 days. But they won't kill an old caribou because it has very little fat. Gestating females are also spared.
It's a great spot. Surely there are caribou around here, because there's plenty of food for caribou over there.
Like many other Inuit of her generation, Mika has left Baffin Island several times to try to make a life elsewhere. But like a compass, her heart keeps pointing her back to the north. Now, She has made up her mind. She will never leave again. The group must make it to camp before night falls. Joshua does not like the rough seas. 5 years ago, 4 members of his clan drowned when a storm blew up without warning.
Tali 62, 772.
Okay, good. They're not lost. I understand.
There's a real big learning curve right now for us because of all the traditional knowledge, the Inuit wisdom to live with this harsh environment. If all the rules are changing and weather and conditions are becoming unpredictable, we have a major challenge on our hands, major. And so we are learning to use our traditional knowledge and partner with Western science to deal with this issue.
In recent years, the scientific community has begun to realize that the empirical data of traditional knowledge has much to offer.
You wrote a lot about the temperature, the climate, the changes you observed in Peng.
That's true. I would write often. It used to be colder when there was a lot of ice. The ice would form earlier in the fall, not far from here in Pang. But now the ice, a sort of floating ice that we call kiliminik, now it disappears sooner.
Mr. Jamie C. Mike's notebooks contain more than 40 years' worth of notes on temperature. They tell us, among other things, that the amount of snowfall has changed significantly since his childhood. As well, for some time now, the snow that is best suited to building igloos has been found to have soft inner layers. Some years, it hardly snows at all, or it starts snowing too early. The formation of ice on the sea and the traditional routes have become unpredictable. Several hunters have lost their lives. New visitors are making their appearance. In various places on Baffin Island, people have sighted robins, a species normally found much farther south. In the Arctic, the balance between life and death is precarious. A limited number of species is present, so the slightest change disrupts the harmony. If temperatures rise even a little, plants flower earlier in the year, out of sync with caribou migration. The herds grow weaker, and the number of births decreases. The hunter and the polar bear have a shorter and shorter period in which to find their prey. The cycle of life is thrown out of balance. A few hours from Cape Dorset, Cove inquires about the temperature before going out on the ice to fish. Jimmy Manning's camp serves as the operations center. Namunaya Shuna has fallen ill and is unable to go on the expedition. In his place, the artist, Ojotak, has agreed to join the group.
Now we are faced with monumental changes of environmental issues, like the contaminants from far that come into our country food, and as a result affect our way of life and our health and our well-being, and puts into question our cultural way of life for the future, and now climate change on top of that. Imagine for us now facing detrimental issues such as contaminants in country food and our climate changing in very rapid ways. But because we are far and few in the Arctic, it doesn't become as alarming for the average Canadian or the average person who's not eating country food. For us, it's a matter of health, and it's a matter of cultural survival as well.
Here are some polar bear tracks. These may be the tracks of a cub. Because these ones were made by a female. Usually the tracks beside hers are those of a bear cub.
Inuit tradition speaks of an iceberg as a living thing. Don't get too close, it'll grab you with its icy hands and devour you. Even today, the taboo persists. In the midst of a frozen sea, the unstable structure of an iceberg can collapse at any moment. But the iceberg guards a treasure, the purest water in the world, hidden in its depths for centuries.
When we get there, we'll make some tea. It'll be good to have a nice cup of tea.
Look how beautiful it is. You don't want to be here when the ice breaks and collapses.
The youngest in the group dare to break the taboo. Ojotak and Kav, still attached to the old beliefs, keep their distance from the iceberg.
Hope it doesn't fall over. You're going to make me a nice cup of tea.
Yeah.
Before the pollutants of progress came to the Arctic, pure water was easy to find. Today, the Inuits' environment is in a state of siege. A cup of tea made with pure water is roundly appreciated.
The planet may look big and seem big, but in reality, it's very small. We have to remain very consciously aware that the connections are great. Do your part in helping us Inuit to stay on the land, because we are the natural guardians. And we will guard the planet, not just for ourselves, but for you. Keep us on the land, hunting and fishing. And we will guard it, not only for us, but for the rest of the world.
In the north, the length of a dog's tongue indicates his degree of tiredness. If he's not too tired, it's the little tongue. If he's exhausted, he is said to have the long tongue. Today, the Inuit observe their environment and wonder if it's not doomed. Will it be able to resist the upheaval of climate change? Will their culture succeed in adapting to the pressures of Western progress? Once, night travelers knew that under a clear sky, they would not get lost. All they needed to do was follow the North Star. Can Polaris still guide the people of the ice in their coming journey?
Yakani Butanga, the Walokadakoya, Talepo, Kakabulu, Nivinga, Ratanunga, Toto, the Yangama, Kaina, Nokoche, Kayalawati, Gayate, Tauto, Goma, Yakani Butanga. Kutualu katendo ya utalepo kakabulu nivinga ratao nunga toto de yanga ngama kaya no koche kaya lawache wegenya che chao to ngoma yakani putanga Tadero katako ya utadepo kakamundo ni vinga wa taununga totoda ya ngama aina no kute kaya la wache ugenyate tauto ngoma ya kani putanga Dimelo katana ya kutadepo kakamundo ni vinga wa taununga totoda ya ngama aina no kute kaya la wache ugenyate Tau tu ngoma ya kani putanga